Chapter 5.2 Common Factors. Let's take a look at greatest common factor. We call it GCF sometimes. So the largest factor shared by two or more terms is called greatest common factor. So for example, if I were to find a GCF of 12 and 28, I would first set up a table with the division going on here and look for a common factor. What number divides both numbers? Because they're both even numbers, I'm going to try dividing it by 2 first. 2 goes into 12 6 times, and 2 goes into 28 14 times. And again, these numbers are even, so I'm going to try dividing by 2 once more. 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 7 for the next one. And 2 goes into 14 7 times. And notice that 3 and 7 are prime numbers, so this 3 and 7 are prime numbers, so we will not be able to find a common factor. We need to multiply the two numbers on the left-hand side to get the greatest common factor, 4. So GCF of 12 and 28 is 4. We use this notation in short. Next term to go over is LCM, which is least common multiple, the smallest multiple shared by two or more terms. All right, so in order for us to check this, let's set up our table. 6 and 8, we're going to use the same format. See what these two numbers are divisible by. They're both even numbers, so I will try to divide it by 2. So we have 3 on the first column and 4 on the second column. Now, we can just multiply these three terms. So we get 2 times 3 times 4, which is 6 times 4, 24. So LCM of 6 and 8 equals 24. Moving on. So previously we talked about GCF of two numbers, two constants. But this time we're going to take a look at GCF of monomials. To determine the greatest common factor of two monomials, we must use prime factorization. For example, example 1. Write the prime factorization for the following monomials and determine the greatest common factor. So let's set up as 6a cubed equals something and 9a squared b equals something. So we need to do the prime factorization. That means we first need to find some prime factors. 6 in front of a cube can be divisible by 2. So I can say 2 times 3 for 6. And then I'm going to split the a into multiplication. For 9a squared b, I'll do the same. I know 9 is divisible by 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. There's a squared, so 2a is here. And then 1b. So we need to first find a common factor. There's 3 in both, A in both, and another A in both terms. So we can say that GCF of 6a cubed and 9a squared b equals 3a squared. Next example. We'll do the same step here. 8x squared y squared equals, and then 20x y cubed. And again, I know 8 is divisible by 2. There's left over 4, so we're going to divide that by 2. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 for 8. Let's list the rest as a multiplication. X times x, and then y times y. For next term, 20 is divisible by 2, and we still have 10, so 10 is divisible by 2 again, and we have 5 left over. We have 1x and 3 y's. Let's match them now. We have 2 in common, another 2 in common, x in common, y in common, and another y in common. So GCF of 8x squared y squared and 20xy cubed is equal to 2 times 2, which is 4, times x times y squared. Example number 2. Factor each polynomial by removing the greatest common factor. Part A. 20x minus 6. I will first look for a common factor. 20x divided by 2 would be 10x, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our greatest common factor is 2. Part B. I will first take a look at the coefficients and then the variable x. A common factor I can take out from these two terms would be 4. So let's rewrite the expression here. So if you divide the 4 out from each term, we get 4x to the power of 4 plus x squared. I see one more thing we can take out, which is the x. The biggest common factor I can take out within the bracket would be x squared. So we're left with 4x squared plus 1. So that's it. The GCF of those two terms was 4x squared. Last example. This time we have 3 terms. The steps are exactly the same. First, take a look at the coefficients. And I see they're all even numbers, so I'm going to take out 2 and rewrite the expression. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And a cubed b squared follows. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. And the rest follows. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So a b to the power of 4 left behind. Next would be a. I see a in each term, so I'm going to take that out as well. It looks like I can only take out one a. So let's rewrite this. So the first term divided by a would be 5a squared and b squared plus 4, and a divided by a is 1, so it's gone now. We'll keep the b cubed. Plus a divided by a is 1, so that it's just gone again, and left with b to the power of 4. There's one more to take out. There's b in each term. So we can factor out b squared from each term. So we're left with 5a squared plus 4b. And then lastly, b squared, close the bracket. And we cannot remove any more factors. So this is it. So GCF of those three terms was 2ab squared. So that's it for 5.2.